Alright, today's lesson is on triangular prisms. We're trying to find the volume of them. We did rectangular prisms right before we started for the break, where the volume was just length times width times height. Well, when you go back to triangles, as opposed to rectangles, when we did area, instead of length times width, it was 1/2 length times width. So now all we do is just add in the 1/2 for the volume as well. So the volume of triangular prisms, the formula is going to be volume equals 1/2 times length times width times height. So make sure that the biggest thing you've got to pay attention to is your height, because we're dealing with triangles. You want to actually deal with the height of the triangle. You don't want to mess around and get this side right here. That's not the actual height. That's just the side of the triangle. The height is from the base to the very top point in a straight line going vertically. So what we have now is a picture of a triangular prism here, and then a picture of a triangular prism with some dimensions. I apologize for my bad handwriting. That's the best I could do. So this one here, we've got 3 inches for the height. So height is 3 inches. The length is 6 inches. And the width is 2 inches. Plug it into the formula there, so we've got volume equals 1/2 the length. So 1/2 times 6 times what's the width is 2 times the height is 3. So 1/2 of 6 is 3 times 2 times 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times 3 is 18 inches, and we're multiplying 3 different units right there. So it's going to be inches to the third. Anytime we're dealing with a volume, it's going to be to the third. So 1/2 of length times width times height is going to give you the volume of a triangular prism, which is basically, when you're dealing with volume, you're just, if you were trying to fill this thing up, if you took off one of the ends and filled it up with water, the volume is how much you could put in it. So you could put in 18 inches cubed, or inches to the third power, or cubic inches, however you would like to say it. Alright, so we got another example we can do. We know that the volume is equal to length times width times height. And actually, I'll go back to the other page really quickly. Before we do that, I want you to all write the volume of triangular prisms on your desk and write the formula right here. So take a second and do that. Pause the video now and write this formula. Alright, you should have that formula written by now. Let's go on to the example from the book. We'll do example B here. We have on our desk already the formula. It's 1/2. Volume equals 1/2 your length times width times height. So the length here is going to be 10. So volume equals 1/2 10 times width is 7 times height is 8. Alright, so 1/2 times 10 is going to be 5, and then bring down our 7 and our 8. 5 times 7 is 35, and then we still have to multiply by 8, so we can't do that off the top of our head, so we'll bring 35 over here, multiply it by 8. 8 times 5 is 40, 0 there, bring up my 4. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 4 is 28, so my answer is going to be 280, and it's going to be yards. And since we multiplied 3 different things, it's going to be to the third power. So 280 yards to the third power, or you can say it is 280 yards cubed, or 280 cubic yards. So any of those which ways will work for the explanation. So you should have this by now. You should understand how to do it. I'm going to give you one example to do on your desk and make sure that you get it correct. And once you do, you can start the lesson. Alright, so hang with me on the drawing. Alright, so for the width, it's going to be 6 centimeters. For the length, it's going to be 10 centimeters. And for our height, always look for that dashed line for height. It's going to be 4 centimeters. So the volume is equal to 1/2 length times width times height. So we'll come over here, volume, 1/2 the length is 10, the width is 6, and the height is 4. So half of 10 is 5, times 6 times 4. 5 times 6 is 30, times 4. 30 times 4 is going to be 120. So you should have been able to do this problem on your own. I forgot to tell you to pause, but hopefully you did. If you didn't, work it with me anyway. I'll give you one more and I'll tell you to pause it. Alright, so I'm just going to erase these dimensions here. Use the same drawing and use different numbers. So we'll do the height is 8, length is 12, we'll stick with centimeters, and then the width is going to be 5 centimeters. Alright, so at this time, pause the video, work this problem out using the formula that you have. We'll work it together after you pause. Pause it now. Alright, at this time you should have worked this problem out, so we'll go ahead and plug it in. Volume is equal to 1/2 length times width times height. Alright, so we have volume is equal to 1/2. Our length is going to be 12. Our width is 5. And our height is 8. So half of 12 is 6, times 5 times 8. 6 times 5 is 30, times 8. 30 times 8, 0 there, and a 24 there. It's going to be 240. And it's centimeters cubed, or cubic centimeters, or centimeters to the 3rd power. Hope you got that right. You'll have a lesson on the board in just a few minutes. Good luck.